Alright, here's the thing. Just because a game is overrated, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. In fact, some of the following games are pretty good. I even liked a lot some of the following games. So don't take this video the wrong way, but please admit it. All of these games are overrated. Number 10. Bravely Default. Boy, was this game a huge success when it came out. So huge that the hype might have ruined the experience for some, like me for example. Game trailers, gameplays, YouTubers, friends, other gamers, everyone told me this was Square Enix's new masterpiece. But when I played it, I felt as if I was playing just another Final Fantasy for a portable console. It just didn't feel as if I was venturing into the greatest 3DS adventure ever. I'm not gonna say I didn't like the game, because I did enjoy it, but it left me with a sour flavor halfway through. I understand the game is hard, but I didn't even reach the hard part at all. I quit the game because I was just too damn bored. Number 9. Tales of Symphonia. Please stop saying this is the best Tales of ever. I am a man who respects other people's opinion, and I understand that this game might be the best to some, but to say it's the best is outrageous. In my opinion, there are way more better Tales of games than Symphonia. I also understand this title in particular threw the franchise into critical success, that they even made an anime out of it. Look, it's a good game, but nothing beyond that. And what I truly do not understand, it's how people seem to love this game with a passion. I clearly see why other titles on this list are loved in the same fashion, but Tales of Symphonia seems to me like one of the weakest titles in the series. The story is so cliché, childish and predictable. However, it's still a good game. I finished it, I enjoyed it, but I didn't worship it like many other people. Number 8. Xenoblade Chronicles. Damn it, I have to admit on this one that it is truly a great JRPG and a total masterpiece. But come on, people talk about this game as if it was the second coming of Christ. And now, with the hype of the overly sexualized Xenoblade Chronicles 2, okay, not that overly, but still, I can see why more and more people are going to continue worshipping this game. It's a great title, and I feel as if it made JRPGs evolve into a different action genre, and I totally admire that. But to go around and spread mind-blowing love about it is just too much. Granted, it is one of the greatest JRPGs of its generation. Granted, it is one of the best action JRPGs ever. But did you even know there are hundreds, and I mean hundreds of other awesome and amazing JRPGs out there? I know you do. Number 7. Fire Emblem Awakening. Fire Emblem is one of my favorite JRPG franchises ever. I love almost every single title there is. And yes, I even like this game. However, the hype that came out during the explosion of this particular title turned me down. I played the game before that explosion, that hype, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the story was a little off for a Fire Emblem game and senseless at times, but I loved some of the characters and still managed to overcome certain silly details. The gameplay is still great, like in previous titles, and everything else seemed awesome to me. Nevertheless, that thing about time-space warp or whatever so you can go and recruit your grown-up children, that was pretty stupid. So how come people hated Fates and not Awakening? I don't hate either of them. I really like them both, but this game in particular is extremely overrated. I know it technically saved the franchise and turned it astonishingly famous, but come on, there are much better titles than this. Number 6. Persona 4 by Shin Megami Tensei. Oh boy, now I'm getting into some pretty dangerous territory here. I am a fan of the Persona series, as well as the Shin Megami Tensei franchise, but Persona 4 was just too damn J-pop to me. The gameplay of this game is as fantastic as its predecessor, but the story was, in my opinion, very weak. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I just didn't get the Shin Megami Tensei feeling in this game. Turns out this is the most famous Shin Megami Tensei title ever. It has a gigantic hardcore fan base, and the developers have already made an anime as well as a port to the PS Vita with additional content, 2 fighting games based solely on it, even though it also included Persona 3 characters, but the main focus is still on Persona 4, a stupid dancing game that I don't even want to talk about, and a great spin-off for the Nintendo 3DS called Persona Q. Wow, can you believe it? Is this game that good that it accomplished all of that? Jesus, and I thought it was just another decent JRPG. Number 5. Final Fantasy X or 10. Look, you know there are way more better Final Fantasy games than this, and most of them are a little overrated as well. But when it comes to discussing Final Fantasy X, I just can't believe there are a lot of people who put this game on a silver plate or an altar of some sorts. Just like Fire Emblem Awakening, in case you didn't know, there's a lot of hatred towards this game. Me, I liked it, but if you watched my Rage Quit video, you'll understand why I abandoned it. However, I still found my playthrough to be quite an enjoyable experience. I liked Final Fantasy X, but to be honest, it's one of the weakest titles in the series. That's not to mention the horrible sequel that came out after this, or the lame-ass trilogy that you already know, but those games are heavily criticized already and they're not as overrated as this. Number 4. Earthbound. I am so happy to say that I've met a lot of gamers in my life that agree with me when I say that this game is nowhere near being the masterpiece everyone brags about. It may be special to you, but it's not to me. In fact, I didn't like this game at all. However, I can clearly see why so many people love it, but I really think it's one of those games that if you didn't grow up with it, you might fail to see what the appeal. It's not a bad game at all, it's a good JRPG and it's very original. The very idea of being a bunch of really young kids going around the towns as if this was an open world game was quite interesting. Needless to say, it has a lot of pretty funny moments. So I admit that the game may be awesome to some people, but I stand by the fact that this is one of the most overrated JRPGs ever. Like I said, if you didn't grow up with this game, you might see nothing special about it. As I did, as a matter of fact. Number 3. Final Fantasy VII. You know this game had to be on the list, didn't you? But it's not my number 1. Why? Because over the past few years, it has received way more hatred than previous titles on this list. I can't believe it. Seriously, this was considered to be for a long time the best, yes, the best JRPG ever made. And I've always disagreed with that, of course, because when I played it and beat it and played it a second time and beat it a second time, nope, I didn't think it was the best. It's a very decent, revolutionary JRPG, yeah, and the music may be extremely good and the story may be quite psychological, but that's it. There's nothing that godly or marvelous about it. But man, does it have its extreme annoying fan base. Anyway, as I was saying, it was considered to be the best, but not anymore. Still very overrated, but not worthy of being the number 1 on this list. Number 2. Dark Souls. I've seen the fake t-shirts that say, "I didn't beat Dark Souls," and I laughed my ass off. The game, however, is not that hard as most people make it seem so. But let's not talk about its ridiculous fame of being one of the hardest JRPGs ever. Let's discuss how this game is extremely overrated. Not even Demon Souls is that overrated, not even its sequels which received mixed reviews. No, the very first Dark Souls of this series has been the talk of millions of people every day, and they're still saying it's the best JRPG ever. I don't like this game. Even though I'm a fan of dark fantasy and dark games, the gameplay, hard or not, just wasn't for me. But seeing how millions of people adore this game make me feel very awkward when I talk about it. So go ahead and say it's a great game, because it is. But please stop with your outrageous admiration, because it's not that great. Finally, my number one. Yes, Kingdom Hearts. Number one goes not only for the first Kingdom Hearts in the series, but for the entire franchise. I am so fucking tired of them. Back when they came out, I remember I played them and I beat the second one, which is a pretty good game by the way, and I realized that over the years more and more people began loving this series with such a passion, overstepping the limits of logic, that they just became extremely popular. Kids, teens, adults, millions of people of all kinds are fans of this Final Fantasy Disney crossover. And while some criticize the idea so much, I never found it unpleasant. In fact, I didn't care much for it. I admit it may be ridiculous, but that's not what turned me so off about the series. But you know, I would need an entire video to explain why I'm so damn sick of Kingdom Hearts. So let's just say they are all good games, and it's obviously understandable why they are so popular, but the fans are what made this series to be the most overrated JRPG, the most overrated JRPG franchise ever. I promise I'll make a video to thoroughly explain why. I promise. Someday. Guys, thanks for watching. Instead of hating on my opinion and on my video, why don't you share your own opinion? Say in the comment section below what games you think are overrated, and so on. See you next time.